Worrying.
One day I want to be as good as Dig. That's all I know, man. We're getting ready for game number 2 when it comes to the Battleground. Find out where we're going here in this best of 5 series. The Battleground is ready, so let's go ahead and see where we are exactly going. It's going to be Tuma, Spider Queen, Dignitas with the choice as Method will take first pick.
Yeah, Method again with the first pick. So Tomb going to be the next map. Dig currently has taken Tomb twice. They had map choice a couple of times actually, since most of the teams go over. Wait, I was wrong there for a second. Yeah, most of the teams choose still to go for the first pick. So Dignitas had a lot of map choices here, and they chose Tomb twice. They played the map twice, and of course, obviously, they won twice on the map. So let's see what Method can actually pull off here. Yeah. Because this is traditionally a very good map for Method as well. This is the only map where Method currently has a 2-0. So both of the teams have 2 wins and 0 losses on this map. And that's where Method just says, okay guys, we need to come out swinging here. We need to find a map where we can take them down. Let's try Tomb. That's currently our best map. We feel comfortable here and see what we can pull off.
This was the only map that Method got a victory on Fnatic, playing the Chromie, Johanna, Rhaegar, Zul, and Tychus composition as they continue to get the poke on the Chromie, but have the Tychus for the Odin finishing up on the forts and, of course, the keeps later on. Dignitas will to be aware of that, but Dignitas has their own Chromie player, Poik.
And Method has shown that affinity of banning Gul'dan on Infernal Shrines, and they could ban him here as well. They did that in the past, but they decide in favor of another mage. We always talk about Gul'dan plus Chromie, how they currently have a big impact. He has a Chromie banned out by them.
Genji seems to be the answer for Dignitas as they begin to hover it. Want to keep him from getting too much space in the battleground and shutting down, but someone that is very similar to Genji when it comes to this map is Tracer. So keep an eye on her if she's picked up. If any mages are grabbed by Dignitas, we can see a Tracer with Method.
Malfurion Tracer comms have been very, very popular. But yeah, I want to see if Method has something that is maybe a bit crazy, where can they find some kind of synergy between heroes, some combo that puts Dignitas in a situation where they said, huh, we've actually not seen this. This is different. How do we adjust to that? But right now, with normal play, it really feels very difficult to take Dignitas down. But again, it's only one map so far. It's just how the map went, how they won.
Genji has been decided upon. Will Method move straight into Hanzo again for Nick, who's been playing him quite frequently lately. See if he wants to go in for more of those arrows, or if we will get that Tracer. Personally, I want the Tracer gameplay. I want to see a little bit more aggressive opening.
Not as a first pick.
Not as a first pick, but I do want to see it in the mix-up here. Nick pretty deadly on that Tracer.
Gul'dan has been played by Method as well, so they have a win on Gul'dan too, and this is a good map for him. So an early go ahead into Gul'dan. You can think about Uther, that we said is great for combos that of course would already more or less eliminate you playing Tracer. Then we've been talking a lot about Hanzo, which is another option here. Those are thoughts that go through the head of Method as well. Again, as we said before, normally there's always a discussion happening when teams are talking about their picks. That, for example, the main tank is asking, okay, what do you want to play here? The drafter has a bit of a different take, maybe.
Sure.
They just talk about how they want to approach the team fights. If the heroes that are discussed are able to deliver that. We go into Hanzo for now.
Dig.
I was like, wow, how is Dig winning? How is Dig winning this game now? I don't know. At this point, it feels weird, but I don't know if these guys can lose.
Is it possible?
The game's been close so far. They played 7 maps, and every other team, no matter what record they had, Fnatic with a 6-1 before they came in today and played Zealots, had a great win ratio, great track record, but they struggled on a few of the games. There were moments where you could see, okay, there's a weakness. The opponent was close to maybe getting an even fight there, maybe winning it. But whenever you look at Dignitas' games up to this point, it just feels so like they completely outclass everyone else.
Yeah, they're flawless.
And you look at it, it's like, there's a 2-3 level lead there, sometimes 2 talents ahead. How do you beat that? So in the early game, if we would have seen Method die 3 times, then, well, okay. But that didn't even happen. It was 1 kill. They got 2 objectives. They got nothing out of the objective. Falset alone negated everything they got from the objective. That's crazy. And now they open up with Malfurion and Tracer. If you go for the early combo, it at least allows Method to go for counter. The problem is if in this case, for example, you would head into a variant as a counter, you also give up some of the wave clear that would be provided by other tanks.
Well, they have two options. Find a way to counter the Tracer, or just go straight wave clear and make sure not to allow Dignitas to open up the map. Can you do that against Dignitas? That's the big question mark floating around here. But Method does have options here, now that Tracer Malfurion has been the first and second pick for Dignitas.
But Tracer Malfurion as the opening combo in the second spot is better. First pick is always tricky because right now Tracer seems to rely heavily on the combo with Malfurion.
Sure.
If you make it a first pick, then it's easy to counter pick and take synergies away from her in that position. You can still counter it to an extent, so Method has a few tools that they could use against her, but it makes it already a bit more tricky. Dehaka and Uther. Isolation, drag, wave clear on the bot lane, and we're having also Uther, who has always an option to go into Divine Storm. Divine Shield is the go-to, but against Tracer, you can argue Storm. So depending on the rest of the composition, that might be something that they consider.
They do have CC on every single hero here. If they do find a pick on Tracer, they can pop her. You have the Dehaka drag, hard to hit on Tracer, but still easy to move in if you get a initial stun. Uther and Hanzo could provide that with the Dragon Zero and the Uther pickup. I'm actually kind of curious to see what tank we're going to get from Method.
Bans are also interesting because now once again Dignitas is looking at banning out Diablo, which they do. So far when they played on Tomb of the Spider Queen, they prioritized Malthael higher. So they love to ban Malthael out. With them going for Diablo instead, one answer would be they themselves are thinking about picking Malthael here, which they definitely could. Dehaka has already been chosen. I don't think that Method is going to head into a Malthael after picking Dehaka up for the solo lane.
Yeah, no way.
So what is Method going to do? Previously, Method banned Chromio and Diablo. This time, they just want to make sure that there's not this heavy engage anymore with Anubarak. And that brings us back to a talking point that we had on the first week. The Anubarak snuck in as a hero that had an insane win ratio, but wasn't played as much, wasn't involved as much in the games as we expected. Korea in particular had a huge amount of games on him with very big success. And right now, teams are just catching up on that and saying, hey, this aggressive play around Anubarak, his initiation potential is something that we just don't want to deal with because it opens up too much blow-up potential for our opponent. And when the fight starts with a quick hit against us, we always find ourselves in a 4 versus 5, and we just don't want to fight that.
Dignitas may need a little bit more wave clear here when it comes to A, their damage, and then B, maybe their tank. Johanna, Stitches, options available, but they move straight into Muradin and Gul'dan. So Gul'dan will provide that wave clear, and Muradin allows that front line and Stormbolt that we've been seeing more and more here on this battleground.
And we talked about Gul'dan from the get-go, even as a potential first ban.
Yeah.
And it is very interesting how far down in the draft he is seen right now, because oftentimes you see him as a first pick here. Gul'dan is insanely popular on Tomb of the Spider Queen, so yeah. Very interesting setup.
Wave clear between those two. Method, what do you pick up for your main tank? With Muradin being there, some fall off a little bit. Do you think they'll want to move to the Johanna? Or do you think we might get the Stitches? Now, ETC is still up and available.
Method played Johanna before here.
They have played Johanna, that's why I brought her up.
They could definitely use her in the setup. I'm more interested to see what the second damage is going to be for them. If you're going to have a Li Ming,
yeah, it's doable
that would work out against them.
ETC and then
Tassadar.
Tassadar.
Double support is coming back. The Hanzo Tassadar setup. Europe is learning from North America. Never thought I would say that.
Interesting. Well, Tassadar gives you the wave clear we were looking for. Gives the shields for the Hanzo. Solo support or double support Hanzo showed up a few times today. Is this the new hot Kaldor?
Could be. At least it's the flavor of the week. That's for sure. How long and how persistent it is, that's a different question. I really think to me it feels a bit as if a lot of the players watched what happened in an A, thought about it, said, okay, let's try that out in scrims. It worked out, and it's still pretty new. The question is, will it also be played next week, or are teams able to adapt to it where they say, okay, we figured it out, this is how we want to deal with it, and we don't worry about it too much. Also, it depends on how Dignitas now proceeds. If Dignitas loses the game all of a sudden, then of course it's something where we have to ask ourselves, why did that happen? Was it really that combo that worked? But if Dignitas smashes that into the ground again, then obviously there are other ways to play around. Granted, Dignitas seems to be on top of the world at this point, but still. But you are right, it's definitely the flavor of the week.
Well, 2-minute Spider Queen here. We have the Hanzo with a Tassadar and a Uther to back him up, keeping him alive with ETC and Dahaka to control that front line and force the fights. Will it be enough to stop Dignitas here, who actually has pretty decent weak players themselves, but they have Tracer. Tracer is that big fundamental change that we're going to have to look at. The Tracer on Poik coming in there, dropping the pulse bombs, constantly harassing their opponents and getting kills is usually the major threat that allows Dignitas to move forward.
I want to use this quickly, this Hanzo and Tassadar, also to talk a bit about how one of the things that's really important for every region is that you also look towards other regions. You don't have to copy everything, but just that you have a bit of an idea what else is out there and can we use that. Sometimes Korea has certain ideas that just don't work in the European meta. Sometimes you look over to North America, you find something that you feel, okay, this would make sense, or at least we can try it out. That seems interesting, because we have actually a fair amount of teams that at times completely ignore other regions, where you talk to their drafter and their shot caller and they say, hey, I came up with this insane idea. This hero is actually secretly really good. And you're like, well, that hero is being played every single game on another region right now. And you're like, well, really? So some don't really watch other regions and don't check them out. I'm not saying all of them, but there's definitely a few. Yeah. And it always pays off if you keep an open mind and you look towards other regions and you think, okay, would that work in our meta? Is that something that we can at least attempt to do in scrims and try it out if it works over here, or is it just something very specific to the region for a certain?
Yeah, it's good to know your competition too, just in general. Let's get ready for game number 2. It's going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen as we have Method facing off against Dignitas. Dignitas looks unbeatable right now. Method bringing out the Tassadar and Uther to see if it's enough to take them off their perch.
To the left side, we have in blue Team Dignitas with a 1-0 lead. Snitch on Tracer, Poik on Gul'dan, Zelia on Malfurion, JPL on Murden, and Whoopi on Leoric.
On the right side in the red, Schwimpy will be on Tassadar, Thuro on ETC, Arcaner playing Dahaka, Curson on Uther, and Nick playing Hanzo.
Tracer played once again, and so far Tracer isn't really doing too hot in Europe. The team that has consistently been able to deliver victories with Tracer is Dignitas. Small surprise there. 2 times played thus far. Both of the games were won. But outside of those 2 matches, the only other team that was able to get a single win with Tracer so far is Team Liquid. If you look at her statistics across Europe, she sits at 3 victories and 5 losses. So not really the best win percentage for her as a hero, but for Dignitas, she plays out perfectly. They're doing extremely well with her so far, and it is inspiring what Snitch is able to provide on the hero.
Well, they have 2 deadly Tracer players, Snitch and then Poik as well. They can swap her in when they need to get those kills, and Snitch will be your Tracer player today. Already put some damage on the Thuro. The shield will keep him alive, but some damage coming out from Snitch as he works on that pulse bomb.
Yeah, this is also the first game where we see Tassadar played by Method. So as we said before, it's a bit the flavor of the weekend that we see the Tassadar and Hanzo combo. And if you look at this setup, this is extremely reminiscent of what we've seen in the last series between Zealots and Fnatic. Again, the core heroes, Tassadar, Hanzo, and Uther, the trio. We have Dahaka, same hero that was played by Zealots on this map, and a different tank at the front line. But the 3 core heroes, the double support Hanzo with Uther as the main support, that has been a big, big theme between Fnatic and Zealots a bit earlier today. And that is definitely... Those are the 3 heroes that I feel we have to keep an eye on when we're talking next week about, did it fall, did it falter, is it something that the teams are going to use right now, or was it just a 1-week thing where they tried something new and it worked out and people didn't know quite yet how to handle it?
For me, it's kind of interesting to see Dahaka on this battleground. We know he has a wave clear, we know he brings to the field, and also the isolation very helpful too. We lose out in that global presence, but it seems like just having that drag has helped out so much. And even though the global presence isn't as big here, being able to always have the threat of coming in across the map, even if it is a small margin, has really been popping up here for EU.
Yeah.
There was a phase where he was super popular last year, and then Leoric kind of took over when he had the double wave clear. I'm kind of curious to see if that will happen again, if that trend will continue, or if it's just another one of those flavor of the month things.
Yeah, Dahaka was very ignored at the first weekend, and then he came in again. It's just globals have always had a huge role in the game, and I feel they're always going to pop up. Boston has been the big loser when it comes to the global match, but Dignitas has already used him on the last game, just over the entire region. He doesn't do too well. Actually, across the world, he isn't really too good at this point, but still, in situations where you can use him, he can be the one hero that changes the outcome of the game. For now, though, in this one, again, slight lead for Dignitas and experience, but definitely we're seeing a Method with a bit of a stronger presence here early on. And of course, both of the teams are now attempting to get their first turn in.
Take already sneaking experience lead here with the amount of damage they did on the bottom lane with the turrets. That's where they see that experience lead coming in, thanks to Leorc and Tracer being a bully against Ahaka.
Consume Souls on Gul'dan as a level 4. We're having again deep roots from Malfurion, so using the zoning aspects of the healer, of the support, as a main tool here. And Koik is just Snitch is just zipping around the entire time, trying to look for openings here. His main target is going to be Hanzo. If he can take Hanzo down, that would be the dream. But that's, of course, the job of Tassadar and Uther to make sure that Hanzo doesn't fall.
That'll be scary too, a level 20 for the Hanzo. Whenever you get good stuff, the ability to jump across, pulse bomb, give him melee, and blow them up instantly. Hanzo will have to have defense from his Uther and Tassadar then. But again, Hanzo is definitely the target of the game for Snitch. Turn-ins for the teams looking pretty good for Dignitas as they've dropped 24 gems off and they have 31 extra to move in and get another turn in here whenever they would like to. Method have yet to drop any off as they have not caught enough space yet to even drop them in.
Yeah, and Dignitas is shifting the game a bit towards the bottom side of the map. They are trying to focus more on the bottom turn-in. Curson has been very vigilant, making sure that they don't get the turn-in here and always been threatening the interrupt. But JPL is also the entire time trying to create some space here. So the focus of the map shifts a bit from the top to the bottom. A turn-in spot, level 7 for Dig already. But Method this time is really close when it comes to it. And now with the level 4 on Tassadar, the extra life leech is of course making it a bit easier for Hanzo to be aggressive. Was one of the main reasons for him to have his position.
Keeping on the poke too.
Hanzo has basically taken over Vala's job to an extent.
It's weird to say that, right? Because like in terms of what they actually bring to the table, it's much different, but it also makes sense at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Vala was the double support dream. You wanted to have Vala in your double support setup, and now we're having Hanzo instead. Uther goes down. Arcana is also in trouble. Snitch is a bit low though, so he's not quite making the move yet. But that was actually a nice move here against Whoopi. And it lands them a kill. The tower gets the last shot in, and they get the counter kill. Well done. The blue Web Weavers, though, are descending since we saw the turning completed by Dignitas.
Yes, this is where it's going to hurt. The 4 on the bottom side, remember, it's wide, and it's open right now. Snitch is going to continue opening it, too. Wubby also going to help out with that push at the same time. And with Poik on Gul'dan threatening to push in the other lanes, Method has to make a choice here. Do they give up their 4 on the bottom, or do they suffer the idea of possibly the turrets being burned on both sides? And they decided to go ahead and defend on the top lane. Setting up there, a power slide goes in on JPL. He gets locked down, and he actually gets out of that fight just barely.
Yeah, we have JPL at the top being attacked, at the bottom it's Dehaka. Both of them survive, but I like the aggression towards Mirrodin in the attempt to kill him there. If they had a few more tools, they would have been able to drop him, but as is, they need to deal with those Web Weavers. And at the bot lane, the fort is already down, and you can see Dignitas walking away with a massive lead in experience. Again, they drop the fort, they are taking the towers down in the middle, and that will lead to a very quick level 10. And then they can try and work on their second turn in and attempt to snowball the game. Method hasn't even reached level 9 yet.
There's a rotation on the bottom side to Tracer and Leorc. Tracer can sneak out, and Wubby, if he has to, can give up his life just to make sure Tracer can live. A Thorough tries to cut them off, though. Snitch zips in, zaps out, gets hit with an Entomb. A Thorough locked down, trying to get away. Everything is used on him, and a Thorough is no longer on the field.
And that costs them a fair share of gems now, too. So that is not only the death against ETC, it's also that they're losing gems. They still have enough for a turn-in, but we have Dignitas opening the wall with a first turn-in. 2-level lead and opening the wall at the keep. Grabbing the camp away. The map, of course, at this point belongs to them. They can easily get the second fort now with a level 10 advantage. And they will also get a second turn-in if they want it. They don't have the amount of gems yet, but it's an easy task for them, an easy quest to move to the top, make sure that they get 1 more wave, 2 more waves, and then get another turn-in and pressure Method even more.
That's typically unheard of. You do not open a keep wall unless you have a Sylvanas or something weird in your composition. Dignitas just running away again with game number 2. Method has a chance here. They're about to hit level 10. Got to clear out that middle wave in the top lane.
Dignitas with the spray.
Dropping it in there. Poke Connolly on Wubby. Method's able to push him away for now.
1 gem away from returning. There's the 10. Finally, we have it. Is it enough? They need to force a fight. It's 2 levels behind. If Dignitas gets the turn in and then gets the 13 with a push, and they do, Blue Web Weavers, great move by Zelia. It looked very, it's a small thing, but him dropping the root there at the perfect moment as ETC walks through ensured that Leoric had the time to get the turn in completed. Now the Web Weavers are going to come down again. And Method is trying for a kill, but at this point, Poik just says, all right, I'm going to be willing to drop my Horrify here just to make sure that we don't lose a hero while we're trying to push with the objective.
Isolation was used too on Wubby, but he survives, and here are the Web Weavers. Bottom lane is slowed down by minions here, so Method can work on defending the middle side, but 13 is about to be grabbed by Dig. They have a 4th they can grab on the top side, they can run to the bottom and try to push it in. So many options here for Dig, and if too many people go bottom side and clear out that Web Weaver, Dig can make a boss call. It'd be pretty aggressive, but that option is there.
Oh, I definitely think they can go for a boss call after they hit 13, and they will first of all get up at the top lane, the fort. So we had Method moving down to the bot lane, and they had to. You have to defend your keep. The keep has the higher priority, so they simply sacrifice the fort in order to save the keep. But again, Dignitas is moving forward. They have a 2-level lead. They're opening up another wall, and they can easily move back and go straight for the boss. There's tools that Method has, for sure. But if I just look over all of the heroes that we have for Dignitas, Horrify is back in 10 seconds. That's a great tool to have around the boss area. So Dignitas can make that play, even if they just fake it or start it and force Method to react to it.
And meanwhile, Leoric's been holding lanes. Middle's pushed in. He set up the bottom side too. Method moving over as a unit, trying to clear it out where they can. They got to play around that explosive arrow for Hanzo, but they have to stick with him because of how vulnerable he is against that Tracer. And I'm honestly starting to get to a point where it's like, can Method even win this? And it's such a weird question to ask as a commentator.
I mean, they can. They have a Divine Shield mosh pit. If they get a good arrow off, and ETC can slide in and Divine Shield mosh hits, and they can get kills, then they can come back into it. They have 100 gems. That's 2 turn-ins that they currently have.
Yeah.
106 gems. But they need that opening somewhere.
They need to fight and not lose anyone. And
finding it is hard, especially since they are constantly a talent down. This is the problem that you have also on this map, that you can run into a snowball on the side of your opponent. It makes it difficult for you to get back into the game. But Dignitas is currently not taking the boss. They are not trying to, they don't want to risk anything. And they don't have the gems. So Method can play this slow. They can say, hey, let's just sit tight. Let's get 13. As long as they don't get anything massive, we are fine. We have to make our play once we have 13, but until then, let's just play it cool and make sure that we're not losing more ground.
They're inching back on ground with 13, coming around the corner. Dignitas throwing anything they can at them with Mercenaries, grabbing Giants on the south side. That should push in towards the keep. And Method, at some point, they're going to have to pull the trigger with Nick, dropping down the Dragon Arrow with a thorough following up. And one of the things that Team Dignitas is doing really well is making it hard for them to make that call, is they're constantly mounting up.
But there was little gain for Dignitas while they had that talent lead, and now there's 2 levels. So this is really where you want to see if you find an opportunity. Because once that Team Dignitas has 16, things become even worse for you. And right now they want the turn in. They want to turn in. Dignitas is of course attempting to at least delay it. If they can delay it until they hit 16, they're absolutely okay giving them the turn in. But here comes Ruby. Ominous Wraith being used to reduce the damage output of Method. And Arcana, 50 gems on him. 50 gems on him alone. He's looking for isolation. He gets the drag. They want to go for it. Ethereal misses the slide though, and here comes the immediate avatar. Already everyone focuses straight on ETC. He gets the Divine Shield, but he can't combo it with anything. Arrow hits 3 in the background. Dignitas is walking away from it for now. A bit bruised, but they can easily move to the fountain, tap themselves off. It's a big advantage that they have. They can always reset at the fountain. Yep. That's something that Method can't do because all their forts have already fallen.
Nick using that Dragon Arrow to make sure Dignitas can follow up on that 3-man entomb that occurred. Dahaka keep wanting to go back. He wants to deal with those Giants that are going towards that key, but Dignitas is demanding the attention of Method by dancing around on the turn-in, and eventually Method, they forfeit. They give up the area, decide that they can't grab the turn-in, which should net Dignitas 16 if they're able to soak.
130 gems for Method. That's what keeps them in the game. It's a big advantage for Dignitas, but if Method at any point wins a team fight and starts turning in, taking structures, that brings them back into the game. As long as they have these gems, they have a chance. But if they lose the gems, If they lose a big team fight and lose out on the gems, then the game is more or less over, and only a massive mistake on the side of Dignitas would give them an opportunity to come back into this. So right now, Dignitas wants the 16. Method, are they going to fight before that happens? Are they going to try and force it? They're trying to turn in. Ethereal gets the turn in. That is a few-handed in, but it's just not enough to get the turn. Those are the first 22 gems they turned in.
23 of them. 120 still on their purse. 16 hit. And Tracer Malfurion peel off to try to grab the boss. Murder's going to sit around the top side, allowing Dahaka to see him. So Method has no idea this boss is happening. And if Dignitas can get the boss and stop the turn-in?
I'm pretty sure they're going to get this one. Nobody is scouting this out right now. And now Poik is starting to move in. But they were oblivious up to this point. They're just trying to turn in somehow. To be right now, I don't really think that getting a turn-in against boss would be a bad thing for Method.
You're going to drop the gems. There it is.
I think they are okay with this because it just buys time.
And they need time to get 16, which they're a level away from, and to defend the boss is pushing in the top.
Yeah, they stop Arcana. Ooh, that was an early borrow here. And he borrows out. Okay. But yeah, that's at this point, this is just you sacrifice some gems and you can defeat the boss. I don't really think this is a bad setup for Method because yes, it negates the turn-in, but it allows you to buy more time for 16, since that is the main goal for Method right now. Problematic is that Dignitas at this point has the amount of gems they need. The worst case scenario for Method would have been if Dignitas gets the boss and then turns in, because they had the gems. So that was the scariest part. But now at least Method bought themselves a little bit of time. They have half a level, so they didn't fall into the trap. They haven't lost the keep yet. It's all still good. Get the 16 and then try to win the fight. And the same that we said earlier holds still true. If you win the fight, you have the turn-ins and your comeback will start.
They just need a little bit more time. They'll get 10 seconds for the exit spawn. JPL steps forward against Stormbolt and Thurl, which they'll chunk down. Stitch comes around the side. He's found Hanzo.
Yeah, they're going in here. Theory is extremely low. And needs the Divine Shield immediately. He gets it, but he might still die. Here comes the silence. They go for it. Good arrow, but he is down. ETC is down, and the red Web Weaver turn-in has been completed. So Arcana, with all the gems that he had, could get another objective in. ETC falling. He didn't have too many gems. Death timers are still kind of low. Not really. I'm really struggling to find something here. It's not the end of the game yet for them, but they have now sacrificed 2 turn-ins to buy some time, and this is the 16. The next fight has to be the one that they win, or I don't see a lot of wiggle room.
I want to also point out in the last fight the restraint from Zelia, positioning himself in a perfect spot to use the Twilight Dream to hit ETC. If ETC decided to mosh pit, because there was a mosh pit available for 2 to 3 people to get caught, he could stop it immediately. Zelia with pixel-perfect positioning, making sure ETC can get killed and also prevent the mosh pit.
Kirsten has so much damage on him here. Ethereal finally comes in. They want to do something around the Web Weaver. This is the moment where they really have to see if they can make a play. Mosh pit is ready. Divine Shield is not. Got 2 more seconds for the arrow. They try to keep the Web Weaver alive for as long as they can, but this is... Dignitas hasn't lost a fort yet.
Only a couple turrets in a gate. Well, they came in to make sure that they wouldn't lose another fort either.
Both teams have still enough gems for a turn. Method has to do something before Dignitas hits swing.
They know it too. Nick
oh my god.
But he gets chunked
Calm
by Gul'dan.
Down. Seriously. Poik is getting out of control here. I mean, he has 200,000 siege damage and 40,000 damage at this point. Hanzo, here's the mosh, and is that a kill? Didn't get the kill. Didn't get the kill. Divine Shield on Hanzo. Fight's not over yet, though. In the back, silence against Archon. He gets out for now, but Hanzo is dead, and Shrimpy is gonna follow. That's the double kill, and this is the beginning of the end. Blue Web Weavers are already on the map. They're starting to push, and Kirsten falling would also take another 90 gems away from them.
And the 19 gems and a healer, too. Him, actually, he's gonna die. He's just trying to buy some time so his teammates can spawn and deal with the Web Weavers. But it comes to a point, has he been alive for a little bit too long? There he goes, finally falling, but he'll be back after a decent duration.
That's going to be 20. 20 keep potentially core.
40 seconds for Uther. That keep is done. Top lane's being pushed in already by the Web Weavers. The second one will be joining soon. Does Dignitas just move in and go straight for the core? They do. They start stepping forward.
And they have Entomb. They have Entomb as well now. And he uses it. Just zoning for now. Let's see if they go for the core right away. They actually try to get a kill with it too, and they do. Hanzo has no chance, just gets deleted. That guy just doesn't exist. Dignitas with zero respect for him. They take him down. The double support combo is about to lose the game as Team Dignitas goes in and gets another victory. They take the 2-0. 7 kills against 1 18-minute game. Dominant again.
Method holds on, and they put it all on one movement where if they can blow up Tracer, maybe they can start to get that comeback going. Tracer survives, the sounds coming out from Azalea, the heals as well, and the recall. Just enough to allow Snitch to survive, and that was the end of the game for Method. And we're going to game number 3, but Dignitas is now 8-0 in their last 8 matches, undefeated.